a gleam, man. There's a gleam. Let's get the gleam, all right? Let's go.
All right. Welcome to Raw News Radio. My little corner dealing with the Cleveland Browns. So I want to get this out of the way before we get started, because I guess if you're not, and I know this probably going to turn people off, but if you're not praising Shedeur Sanders, then clearly you're a hater and all of this stuff that people like to say. But, you know, I mean, it's really not the truth. You have to look at this stuff objectively. Prime example, before we dive into looking at the rest of the rookies, I want to get this out the way. Everybody was talking about Dillon Gabriel's interception. You had the flight mic do 8 minutes avoiding the obvious. He broke down everything, but he didn't talk about the obvious, which is right here. The tight end failing to try to make a catch, pulling his arms back when the ball got there. Pulled his arms back so he wouldn't catch the ball. Keep in mind, the ball almost hit him. He'd have stuck his arms out and made the catch. He'd have caught it. And in the NFL, the football is like a bullet. All right? Has no name on it. Everybody can catch one. Everybody can catch a hot one. But, you know, we don't want to talk about that. We just want to criticize Dillon Gabriel for a pass that should have been caught. But that's besides the point. The beautiful news is that Quinshon Judkins should be signing his contract, hopefully, and joining the team, because the Browns drafted him and Sampson and Fannin to be a power running team. Let's read the story here. Cleveland Browns rookie running back Quinshon Judkins will not face charges for misdemeanor battery after prosecutors decided not to move forward, according to a Broward County, Florida attorney's office memorandum obtained by NFL media on Thursday. Judkins was arrested in July and charged with touch or strike battery domestic violence per Broward County Sheriff's Office records. Following an investigation, prosecutors determined a conviction was unlikely based on numerous factors and declined to proceed. The incident was not captured on any video surveillance, the memo stated. There are no independent witnesses to the incident. Although the victim had photos showing injuries sustained, there were also videos in that same time frame where no injuries were observed to the victim. Which means that she faked it. She intentionally hurt herself and then called the police and claimed that he hit her. That's what they're saying. Additionally, the victim's injuries depicted in the photos could be explained by either account of the incident. Finally, there was a delayed report of the incident, which gave her enough time to doctor evidence. The delay is problematic as the victim was alone on numerous occasions without the defendant, had the ability and resources to make the report without his knowledge, but chose not to do so. For the reasons set forth above, there is no reasonable likelihood of conviction, and this case is being declined. Yep, there it is right there. These guys keep messing with these women. Telling you, I'm telling you, these women will be the death of your career. They will be the death of you. Judkins, 21, could still face discipline from the NFL for violation of the league's personal conduct policy, as the league will continue its own investigation. We have been following developments in the matter, which remains under review, a league spokesman said on Thursday in a statement obtained by NFL Network insider Mike Garofalo. Judkins, who is currently unsigned by the Browns, was a 2025 NFL draft second-round pick out of Ohio State. the 36th overall selection, Judkins won an NCAA championship with the Buckeyes last year and rushed for 1,060 yards in his first and only season with Ohio State following 2 seasons at Ole Miss. So if the NFL decides to suspend him, you're probably looking at 4 games, even though it appears that there's really no reason to suspend him, but it is what it is. And staying on the police blotter, as far as players go, Browns wide receiver Isaiah Bond proclaims his innocence, vows to be an upstanding human as well as a great player. So new Browns receiver Isaiah Bond once again proclaimed his innocence against an SA charge that was dropped and vowed to be a productive member of his new community. You already know what's going on there. Another cash grab. I'm very excited to be a Cleveland Brown, he said in his opening statement before his first Browns practice. I've been playing football since 6, and I know it's a great privilege to play in the NFL, and I'm very, very grateful for that. So I hear all of this hype about Isaiah Bond, and I'm like, well, who is he? So I decided to take a look to see just who Isaiah Bond is. And this is what I saw. I saw strength. All right. More strength. Ability to take a hit. I mean, it's the same play. Nice throw by the quarterback there to get it between the 2 defenders. All right. Very confident catch. Okay, here he is on an end around. Look at that. Nice football IQ to slow down, let his blockers get in place. I like that. All right. Good eyesight, good football IQ. That's a little juke moves to him. I like that. Right over the middle. Makes a tough catch, takes the hit. I like that. Quick pass in traffic. I like that. Can't use your hands, use your arms, use your body. There we go. Boom. Look it right in. He looked it right in. I like that. Same play, of course, different angle. All right. Little crossing route. Has the speed to get upfield. Yeah. Doesn't mind challenging a defender. He didn't step out of bounds. He tried to plow right through him. Watch this. Bam. Okay. Another behind the line pass. Nice speed to get past the defenders. Outran everybody down the sideline. Easy touchdown. I'm impressed. The kid runs with confidence. He plays with confidence. All right, here's a deep strike. He tracked the ball. Boom, first down. I like that. Over the middle. Nice catch over the middle. Look at that. Runs with confidence and power. I like that. There he is on a reverse. Yes, nice read. Nice read of the blocks. A little showmanship. The kid plays with confidence. I love that. All right. Yeah, stick that hand out. Got him on a reverse again. Let's see what happens here. Against Florida. Yeah, shakes his way through the blocks. Nice little run. Nice little run on the reverse. I like that. So, in all honesty, this is what, if you're the Jaguars, this is the type of play that you want out of Travis Hunter. But this isn't the type of play that they're getting out of Travis Hunter. Nice juke move. Nice. Yeah, you go. Run through those tackles. No arm tackling this kid. I like that. Watch this. Look, juke the defender. Ran through the tackles. The attempted arm tackles. I like that. Yeah, you're not going to bring him down easy. You're going to have to get a body on him. Let's see here. Yeah. He's got that. I noticed that he does that John Taylor stiff arm, and I am very pleased to see that. With Jerry Jeudy being your main threat, and you don't have a solid number 2. You don't have a solid number 2. You're going to need that. Let's just be honest. You're going to need that. You're gonna need that. So I am not mad at it. I'm not mad at all. That's a great pickup. That's a great pickup. It's just a matter of who is actually going to be the slot receiver, because they might start him off in the slot, but I think he's going to grow into the number 2 spot. He has the confidence and the game to actually pull it off. All right, so let's get into this. This is the Browns Wire, and this came out on the 14th. All right, so they gave a grade on the quarterbacks. Well, really on the rookies. So for the quarterbacks, mainly Shedeur, they gave a B+. And what they were saying is rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders. Make sure I'm not reading a bunch of gobbledygook. Rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders was the talk of the NFL and maybe the general sports world during his Browns debut. The Browns started Sanders with a mix of second and third team offensive players against the Panthers' first team defense. Even still, Sanders prevailed and impressed many observers. After his third touchdown drive of the game, he finished with a 60% completion rate, 138 yards, and 2 touchdowns with no interceptions. Tyler Snoop Huntley entered the game in the third quarter and had an exceptional day as well, recording 51 yards and a touchdown on 6 of 8 pass attempts. Sanders appeared to be cool, calm, and collected throughout the majority of the Browns' preseason opener. He did an excellent job of keeping his eyes downfield while making the most of broken plays and avoiding sacks whenever necessary. Although he did take that 1 sack and it was glaring at his offensive lineman. I have to bring that up because that's what he was doing in college. This is the pros. You can't do that. Those guys they'll just olay a defender just to teach you a lesson. He is expected to see fewer snaps in the second preseason game due to the probable return of quarterbacks Kenny Pickett and Dillon Gabriel. Nonetheless, Sanders made the most of his opportunity with plenty of noise from the media to follow, which is, of course, a problem as far as the media. Of course, as we know, Kenny Pickett didn't play the last game. Dillon Gabriel did, and he had a decent outing as well. Right. As far as the running backs, they gave him a C. That's because we don't have Judkins. You need Judkins. He's your Nick Chubb 2.0. At any rate, it was a slow day in terms of individual performances from the Browns running backs, but the team's overall rushing attack proved to be moderately successful against the Panthers. 4th-round pick Dylan Sampson got the starting nod with a very limited amount of action and was followed up by various Browns running backs, because you need to find out who's going to be that third back. At the end of the day, UDFA Amani Marshall led the team in carries with 8 attempts for 32 yards. That's 4 yards a carry. That's not bad. Despite the slow individual performances, the game plan for the run game showed life for the Browns. Cleveland's running backs ended with a team total of 125 rushing yards for 3.9 yards per carry and a rushing touchdown by wide receiver Gabe Larvadian. In terms of individuals, fans will hope to see more action from rookie Dylan Sampson in the next preseason matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, the wide receivers, tight ends got a C+. With Bond now in the mix, there should be, you definitely get more depth. You'll get better play. And hopefully he can put some energy, some oomph. Hopefully he can be that type of player just by his play alone that elevates the play of his teammates around him. But we'll see. He looks like that type of player. But let's get back to this. Sitting the starters in the preseason opener allowed the Browns to evaluate some of their depth talent at wide receiver and tight end. One of the immediate standouts was UDFA wide receiver Gage Larvadian, who collected 2 highlight receptions and a rushing touchdown in his Browns debut. Yeah, because he caught that pass on 3rd and 14 and picked up 30-plus yards. That was a beautiful one-handed catch by him. Other standouts were tight end Cade McDonald and wide receiver Caden Davis. who secured 2 touchdowns of their own. The Browns will not shy away from wide receiver talent blossoming in the preseason. Training camp standout Luke Ferreira also had a stellar one-handed grab. Okay, that's him, Luke Ferreira. All right. Also had a stellar one-handed grab on a pass from Shedeur Sanders that made the game's highlight reel. Overall, there were good performances that some of these younger players can build on with hopes of making the 53-man roster. Now, the offensive line got to be minus. See why they did that. The Browns' backup offensive line members had expected results throughout this preseason matchup. Shedeur faced a disrupted pocket early and often, which he managed to escape from multiple times. Even still, the offensive line unit managed to give up only 2 sacks to the Panthers and led the running backs to over 100 team rushing yards. I mean, it's the Panthers. If anybody was in the bottom rung in the NFL, the Panthers were right there with us. Let's see. So Zach Zinter, who was one name that was missing from Zach Zinter, who was one name that was missing for the Browns offensive line in their overall trip to Carolina. He hopes to return for week 2 of the preseason and catch up to others who have already made a positive impact on their chances of making the roster. Despite this, there were some encouraging individual performances throughout this game. What is wrong with me? Probably because it's 11:52 p.m. and I am tired. All right, so they gave the defensive line an A-. The return of defensive end Alex Wright was on full display in the first quarter of this game. The Browns' 4th-year draft pick suffered a season-ending injury last year that forced him to miss almost all of 2024. Now that he's back, he continued a strong campaign with multiple visits to the backfield and a sack against quarterback Bryce Young. Another standout for the Browns was veteran Julian Okwara. Did I say that right? Okwara? Yeah. Who collected 2 sacks and made a huge impact during this victory. Overall, the PFF grades also tell the story that it was a successful night for Cleveland's strongest position group. The team ended with 5 of these players securing at least 60.0 overall PFF grade for their respective playing time. Come on, get it together. The preseason predictions have so far been proven right. This is the least worrisome position group that the Browns have. Yeah, that's true. Now, linebackers. Now, this is the situation here. Because JOK is, let's just be honest, his career is done. And we also had another linebacker that retired on us in the middle of camp before this game. So, as far as I'm concerned, we're pretty thin at linebacker. Well, let's see what they have to say. Rookie linebacker and highly touted draft pick Carson Schlesinger made his presence known in his NFL preseason debut. In this game, his play earned the best PFF defensive grade of the Browns roster with a 191.4 rated as elite on their scale. Good, because when they drafted him at the top of the second, I'm pretty sure all of us were looking around like, who the hell is Carson Schlesinger? Because I mean, I did the draft live and I was like, what the hell? Who? Like, why would you take him when you could have taken Abdul Carter? And at the top of the second, you could have drafted a defensive. There were plenty of defensive tackles that were available that some teams picked up in the second round that were, as far as we were concerned, a little better than Mason Graham. And of course, there was no mention of Mason Graham in here. At any rate, the spotlight was, of course, on the Browns' rookie defenders, but it was a solid start for the linebacker group. Last year, the team was consistently one of the better position groups in 2024, being able to combine that performance level with the talent of the Cleveland defensive line to pose a significant challenge for opponents in the upcoming regular season. Well, we'll see. So the defensive backs got a B-. The So they're saying that after the Panthers' first team offense left the field, it was a much better day for the Browns secondary. Cleveland allowed first round pick Tetairoa McMillan to have a couple of nice grabs in his debut and one drop that should have resulted in a Carolina touchdown. The highlight play from this group came in the third quarter thanks to defensive back Nick Needham, who intercepted Andy Dalton on one of the most acrobatic plays we'll see this preseason. Needham stood out as the best defender from this group thanks to his interception and an 84.9 overall PFF grade, which ranked third amongst Browns defenders in this matchup. He'll look to continue building off of this performance along with others who impressed like Chris Edmonds, Lamarian James, and more. Because let's be honest, with Martin Emerson Jr. gone, somebody has to step up. Somebody has to step up. I mean, it's bad enough we've got Greg Newsome Jr., who's really just a dancing machine, now being slated to start. You're going to need a nickel corner that's going to push him at starting position. Hopefully Needham can be that guy. Hopefully he can be that guy. And maybe you can put Martin Emerson back in the slot position or even trade him, because I don't like him. I have to admit, I don't like him because he can't tackle. His tackling ability to me is terrible. So here are let's go with this. This is because of the second preseason game. This is, of course, courtesy of CBS Sports. Eagles-Browns preseason takeaway. Dillon Gabriel has solid day in debut. Philly appears to have rookie star. Because I missed this game. I had to work. So the excitement at Lincoln Financial Field was far from palpable. The Philadelphia Eagles and Cleveland Browns engaged in a preseason battle, but that was only due to the exhibition slate mandated by the NFL. Okay. The crowd was half full at best as both the Eagles and Browns got their work in during the joint practices at the NovaCare complex earlier this week. This second preseason game was for the third team to get some live game reps, a form of peak exhibition season. For the Browns, the game may have meant more. They have a quarterback battle to sort out. Well, really not this year, but for next year. As Dillon Gabriel had his first start of the preseason on Saturday. Gabriel likely isn't going to win the starting quarterback job, but this was an opportunity to prove he can play in an NFL game if called upon. The Browns did invest a third-round pick on him after all. How did Dillon Gabriel look in his debut? What did the Eagles figure out on defense over this past week? These are the main takeaways from the Browns' 22-13 victory in the Saturday afternoon affair. Gabriel got the start for the second preseason game after working his way back from a hamstring injury earlier this week. With Kenny Pickett still limited and Shedeur Sanders held out of this one, Gabriel had an excellent opportunity to show the Browns he was worth the investment as a third-round pick. This was a good day for Gabriel, despite some of the results that will end up in the box score. He finished 13 of 18 for 143 yards with an interception, a 75-yard return for a touchdown by Andrew Bakuba, ending his day with a 72.2 passer rating. Gabriel had some nice throws with the football, especially on third down. He finished 6 of 6 for 51 yards on third down, finishing with a 102.1 passer rating. Gabriel was 5 for 5 on third down in the first quarter, consistently moving the chains and having more than enough time to get rid of the football. Here's take a look at
Gabriel with a blitz coming from the.
Yeah, nice ball placement, but where only the wide receiver could get to it, and that is, let's see here.
This Thrash moves the chains that way.
Jamari Thrash. Now, from what I understand, Jamari Thrash has really had a good camp. He's really had a good camp, so he might push his way up the ladder. We'll see. Of course, the day wasn't perfect. In addition to the interception on an ill-advised throw while rolling out in coverage, and they still blaming him for that, Gabriel botched the snap, which led to a fumble and a giveaway. He had 2.5. He was also sacked twice. I mean, that is the Super Bowl champions, but dude, you cannot be fumbling snaps. The Browns had to like what they saw out of Gabriel on Saturday, but he's still behind Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett in this competition at the moment. He was also trailing Sanders due to his injury. Let's see if this preseason performance helps his stock. Now, let's see here. Now, I'm just skimming through this because let's see. A lot of this is really talking about the Eagles. Like, they did say some good things about the Browns here. Like, they were talking about the Eagles cornerback 2 battle. They were saying here that Ringo was the victim of a pick play on a Dylan Gabriel pass to Jamari Thrash that went for 19 yards on a 3rd and 2. The latest struggle in coverage for him this preseason. Because Ringo didn't have a good week in the joint practices either, significantly hurting his stock in this competition. He also was playing in the 3rd quarter, something neither Jackson nor Bennett were doing. It says here that Jackson wasn't rotated back in the game, only playing early. A strong sign he's still the favorite to win the job. Bennett had a pass breakup on Browns wide receiver Gage Larvadian, and when he entered the game for Ringo, while also knocking Deontay Johnson off his route on a go ball in the first half. The pass breakup was impressive as Bennett got a hand on the ball late, deflecting it before Larvadian could get a big gain off the catch. All right, so yeah, I mean, do understand they are the Super Bowl champions. So they're going to, they're going to knock you around. Now, everybody is upset. Well, you have people that are upset that that Joe Flacco is a starter. But that's what Joe Flacco was signed for. He was signed to be the starter. Kenny Pickett was signed to be the experienced backup. We've seen how this is played out, especially last year. If you don't have a good backup to your starter, your season is really thrown in the crapper. Okay, so Kenny Pickett, he was a 1st-round pick. Not that means anything, but he did start in Pittsburgh, where I mean, like, in all honesty, Pittsburgh's offense was trash. They still don't have a solid number 2 wide receiver, and their running game was suspect. The past few years, the Steelers have been living off of the back of TJ Watt. Not their offense. Their games are like 17-14, 23-20. They're not an offensive juggernaut. So they moved on from Kenny Pickett. I mean, at least he has some experience. Now, as far as Gabriel and Sanders are concerned, teams were calling for Gabriel. They were looking to trade for Gabriel, not Sanders. But in all honesty, if I was the Browns, I would trade Sanders. Simply because you trust in Gabriel. You really want him to be the future. I understand that you also want to see what you have in Sanders. But in order to get rid of the media circus that he is, I think it's best to trade him. You might come out better trading him. And again, it's not because I don't think he can play. It's because of exactly what we're seeing here. The media blitz is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. The only way to calm it down, at least where it's not a distraction in the Browns locker room, is to trade him. And this is exactly what Dylan Gabriel was talking about when he said, I'm a competitor, as opposed to there's entertainers and there's competitors and there's entertainers. And as he said in the press conference, you all, the media, you're the entertainers because you're feeding into all of this ridiculousness concerning the quarterback situation when it's already set in stone. Flacco, then Pickett, more than likely Gabriel, then Sanders. End of discussion. But it is what it is. You all be safe out there.
I mean, we just want volunteers, not hostages.